of my place, my group of friends. And there's the theater community is just so inclusive, and everyone's just so nice and like joins together as like one big team. So I'd say that's kind of how I like went into the track of theater. And then I went to SUNY Purchase College, where I got a BA in drama studies. And after that, I just started auditioning for everything and anything. Some people say, oh, I shouldn't audition for that because, you know, they would never hire me. Well, that's silly. Maybe the dance is really cool and you should learn the dance, and it's good practice for you to learn one more dance in an audition as opposed to not going at all. It's a free dance class. That's what we used to say all the time. So why not go to it?
Now we're going to open it up. Nekama, go ahead, ask your question. Whoever was first in the chat.
Oh, you want me to say my question?
If you want, I can do it.
Hi. This was kind of like the question that you just answered, but like, what made you like fall in love with Broadway and like want to do this as your career?
Yeah, that's a great question. To be honest, I didn't think it was attainable, but like I was doing, I'm sure what you guys are doing too. Like maybe you get involved in community theater productions or your production at school. I was doing all the same things, but I thought, oh, you can't like actually do that for a career. It's too hard. But honestly, like when it came to college, I felt the only thing I truly want to dive deep into and learn and explore the most of is theater. So I went to school for theater, and thank goodness my parents let me do that. But I also thought I was going to like probably open a restaurant, and I was going to sing in the restaurant. That was my plan, like my life plan. But so right after I graduated, I just figured, let me try a few auditions and see what this world is like. You know, and I didn't like book Broadway right away at the age of 21, but I really climbed the ladder. I worked my way up and started with, you know, like low paying jobs that were maybe like in a regional theater close to where my parents lived. And then after that, like, then I got a non-equity tour. So I did that for a little bit and made a little bit more money. And then I got my union card with a chorus line tour. And then you make really good money once you're in the union. And then just continuing to climb that ladder of tour after tour. But I, you know, again, like I would have little side gigs in the meantime if I was between shows. So one of the things I did was I would do extra work and work on sets like Gossip Girl. Do you guys know that show, or is that, am I aging myself? Okay, good. So yeah, so but yeah, I knew that I wanted to do it because I was just so passionate about it, and I just loved everything that had to do with musical theater.
Who is next? Meredith.
How do you deal with stress? Oh, and good morning, good afternoon, whatever. How do you deal with stress?
That is a great question. How do you deal with stress? I'm still figuring that one out, to be honest with you, and I'm 34. So if you guys feel stressed, don't worry. You're younger than me. You'll get there. You'll figure it out. But as you guys may know, most of my career was swinging. So I always was understudying a lot of people. So at Aladdin, I understudied 8 tracks. And then sometimes I have been on for boys as well. So that is extremely stressful. The best thing that helped me was I started going to yoga a lot and using the breath.
Yes.
I would like between shows, I would go to yoga and I'd come back and people would be like, where did you just go? You look completely different. Like you just got off of an island in the Bahamas. And I'd be like, I just went to yoga.
Yeah.
So number one,
I love yoga too.
Yes. Number one, I say yoga. And then also
I'm so in love with yoga.
It's the best. And it's great for not just your brain, but like for dancing too. It's just really healthy for your body to be stretched like that.
Sure. It is.
And then a lot of my students will ask me, like, how do you keep from getting nervous? Because I definitely still get nervous. There'll be times when I haven't been on for Jasmine for 2 months. So how do you not get nervous? Well, my trick that I usually do is I'll practice the scene right before I enter, like just to myself. Backstage, I'll practice the scene, and then I go on stage and I'm like, well, you just did it in the backstage, so you know it. So now go and enjoy it. So that's the two things that have helped me the most.
Awesome.
Thank you for answering my cue.
You're welcome.
Nina, go ahead.
You're great.
Hi, I forgot to change my name until now. So I'm Ashley, but I'm amazed that you have been a swing in so many different productions, because I feel like they are the most underrated people on Broadway, and so many people just forget about them when really they're like the stars that help run the train that is Broadway. And I was just wondering, like, what is your experience like having so many different tracks, and have you ever gone on for a track that you haven't prepared for? Because I've heard a bunch of stories of people like they get how many hours before the show and they have to learn an entire new track.
Yes, that is such a good question. Oh my gosh. Let me start that question with, if there is any mistake that you could possibly make in Aladdin on Broadway, I made that mistake. Okay. And I still have the job. So that happens all the time. Mistakes always happen. And I have had so many. So when we first started the show, we were in Toronto. So we were guided, try to focus on one track first. So I had this one girl that she was having an injury that was kind of acting up. So I was like, let me really perfect her track, because I'll probably go on for her first. Then someone got hit with a cane and got a concussion. So it turned out that I was going to go on for that girl first. And I was like, that's not even the person that I technically covered first. Does that make sense? So you have your first covers. So the other swing, that was really her cover. But we only had costumes. I had costumes for Act 2, and the other female swing had costumes for Act 1.
Oh.
Does that make sense? So she played that track in Act 1, and I played it in Act
2. That's crazy.
And it was one of the scariest things I've ever experienced, but it's also exhilarating, because in the back of your mind, you're like, I'm saving the show. I'm saving the show. So yeah, so her and I got to the theater, like it was opening night in Toronto. Boom, she got hit with the cane. Then they were like, you guys are going to be on tomorrow for the matinee. So we were like, cool, we're not going to go to the opening night party, even though we had really cute dresses. So we were like, go to bed right now. Went to bed, got up super early, went to the theater at 8 a.m. and we ran the show like over and over again. And that's just one of those things that like people never hear that story, but that stuff happens all the time.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of different things about like mid-show swings, or like people having to switch roles halfway through.
Yes.
That kind of stuff. Thank you so much.
Sure, you're welcome.
Destiny.
Hi, thank you so much, Eli and Maya. Hello. So my question is there anything, like, obviously when you go in for an audition of any sort, there's always some kind of nerve-wracking part about it, whether it's the dancing, the singing, whatever it may be personally. So do you have any advice for those who may be just nervous about the entire process?
Of course, yes. Yeah, I always never feel like, when I leave an audition, I always feel like that maybe could have been better. But part of them auditioning you is knowing how you work under pressure and how you work with that nervousness. So I always say the more prepared you can be, the less nervous you will be. So if that means like working with a coach, a couple of times before you go into that audition, or just running that song a bunch with like, now you guys are so lucky. There's so many karaoke tracks out there, and like really good ones. When I was like younger, you didn't have that. It was like, it just, maybe you could find a karaoke track of Cabaret, which like everyone knows that song. But back then, like that was the only thing you could find. So now you guys just have so much at your fingertips of resources that you can use to prepare and feel prepared. So like if you want to go to like the Wicked dance call, I'd say go to like 4 weeks before that dance call, go to 4 classes and like musical theater classes, because that's very like lyrical / theatery type show. So that you feel super prepared. So you're like, I'm great, I've got this, and you trust yourself, and then you feel less nervous.
Mm-hmm. Ahmed? Asked unmute.
Sorry. Hi, Lauren. Sorry. I'm totally over here. What made you decide to do the dance classes every week? Because I've done a few of them with you before, and they're amazing. But who came up with the idea to do dance classes every week?
Do you mean my classes that I do, like that I show through Instagram? Is that what you mean?
Oh no, the ones on Zoom.
The ones that I teach on Zoom?
Saturday and Wednesday ones.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So to be honest, like right before everything shut down in March, I was teaching a lot of classes, like mostly Aladdin master classes, but I also started a class, which I can't wait for it to start up again because it was so good for young people coming into the city, starting to audition. This class was called Dance for Actor Singers, and we were doing it at Broadway donation. So basically it's really a pay what you can, suggested donation is $10, but it's really a safe place for young performers or newish performers to just feel comfortable about learning new choreography. So I broke down the steps extra than maybe Broadway Dance Center would do or Steps would do. So then as soon as we shut down and you couldn't do classes anymore, I was nervous that I was going to lose that teaching ability because it's like a muscle, like you have to keep training in that. So I figured, well, everyone can't go to their favorite class or see their friends or like, because colleges were closed down, schools were closed down. I figured, let me reach out to some kids and like, it helps me because it helps me come up with choreography again. And then it helps you guys just to continue taking class, even if it's in your living room, you're still learning, you're still practicing. So that's really why I wanted to do it, so that you guys felt like you didn't feel like that hopelessness of, well, now everything's closed. I just wanted to make it available for everybody and anyone.
We have time for one more question. Thank you, Maya, for the updates. Sarah, go ahead.
So it's a two-part question. So my first part of the question is, how old were you when you started, like when you knew you wanted to be on Broadway?
Probably when I saw Cats, when I was like, when did we see Cats? How old was I? 7? My mom's in the background. And she's trying to be silent. She's nervous. Yeah, so I saw Cats and I was like, I've got to do that. This is amazing. You can like go be on stage and play an animal and have fun with it and feel mysterious and like spooky, and you get paid to do it. That's so cool. Like that could be a job. And then I would like walk around my house with a cat tail and ears. I made the cat tail out of pantyhose wrapped around my waist. And I think at one point I was making my mom put a bowl of water on the floor. That's a little weird. I probably shouldn't have shared that, but now you know.
And
So
I'm 12 years old and my dream is also to be on Broadway. And so like, what are some tips for someone like my age to hopefully make it to Broadway, or someone in my age group?
yeah, so I'd say just keep learning as much as you can. So if there's so much to learn. And like I said, we have those karaoke tracks on YouTube now. Like if you can't afford to have a voice lesson every single week, that's okay. Try doing your own voice lesson where there's actually so much on YouTube that is a voice lesson as well, that you can just use that for free. But practice a song over and over again for 30 minutes. That's a voice lesson. You just practiced with your own voice. If there's a certain singer you want to sound like, let's say like Laura Osnes has a very specific, beautiful princess kind of tone. If you want to sound like that, listen to her voice and sing with her. So I used to sing with Audra McDonald because I just loved that soprano quality she has. And I would sing with Ragtime and Marie Christine. And that was like the voice that I wanted to emulate, that tone. So, so just keep learning. If you feel like you're a super strong actor, start taking dance classes. If you feel like you're a super strong dancer, start taking voice and acting lessons.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So what we are going to do now, we are going to welcome Meg Doherty, and we're going to do the picture, kick Lauren out, and continue the Q&A. Sorry, like, I don't want to be rude, but, okay, great. So welcome, Meg. Broadway's Wicked. We are going to start with the group picture, then we are going to continue the Q&A. So if anyone wants to have their camera on, that by the way, it will be posted on social media, possibly the website, maybe not, but yeah. So you can have
sure
your
on our
camera on or
Instagram.
off. All right, great. Let's do the picture. Everybody, look at their camera. 1, 2, 3. That looks amazing. First try again. Happened yesterday. It usually takes like 5 attempts. Okay, great. While I'm saving this, Maya, why don't you take over? So.
Cool. So, first of all, thank you, Lauren, for coming. Yeah, and now we're gonna get started with the Meg portion of the Q&A. Hi, Meg. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So you guys, if you wanna like ask the same questions, go ahead. You can put them in the chat again. Feel free to type questions. Meg, would you like to introduce yourself a bit?
Yeah, hi, I'm Meg Doherty. I'm in the ensemble of Wicked. I do have a character name. I'm one of the few ensemble people that have a character name. My character name is Shen Shen. She's one of Glinda's friends, and I also understudy Madame Morrible.
Great.
We have a question from someone who I'm going to remain anonymous. But do you have any worst stage mishaps or fails? Or...
Oh, yeah, the week of my Broadway debut, I completely ate it dead center in a ball gown, like face first. Just tripped and fell and went all the way down and heard people in the front row gasp, which then I just started laughing so hard. And my dance partner was absolutely no help. He just went, oh no. And I literally completely face planted, and it was very embarrassing. And I had a huge bruise on my knee. That was pretty rough.
Yeah, fun. Okay, next, Meredith, if you want to unmute.
How do you deal with people who don't believe in you? Yeah, because as actors, we get that. Yeah, we get that a lot, that people don't believe. They're sometimes like, this won't come true, give up on it. Yeah, really sucks when we deal with it.
Well,
how do you deal with that?
Here's the thing. There are the thing about being young and being in theater is that a lot of the time you have big stars, right? And that's sort of what you're thinking about. You think about Patti LuPone's, and you think about Sutton Foster, or really famous, huge people. And there's so many jobs in theater. There's so many different ways to be able to make a career in theater. And if you want to be in theater and you want to work in the entertainment industry, you can find a job there. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a star, but you're going to be surrounded by things and follow your passion. And if people aren't supportive of you, then, you know, that's their opinion, and you need to follow your own intuition. And it's sometimes
that's really true.
It's not, and the thing is that success doesn't happen right away, and it doesn't, and a lot of the time when success happens for people when they're young and they're right out of college, a lot of the time they end up sort of transitioning later on and finding something else that they want to do. And maybe they did Broadway for 10 years and then they go and become a physical therapist, or they become a social worker, or lots of different things. So there's, you know, you don't have to be one thing in your life. I didn't make my Broadway debut until I was 35. And in between 0 and 35, that's a lot of time to be doing something else. And I did. I had a lot of other
It's
jobs.
really true. Yes, that's absolutely true. Thank you for answering my question.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great. Okay, next, Ashley.
You're great.
Wait, Maya, you said me, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Hi. First of all, I'm amazed that you're in Wicked because it's one of my favorite shows. I have a few of the playbills up behind me. And I got to see it twice in like LA. But I was wondering first, when did you join the show? And when you did you just feel like all the energy, since Wicked is one of like the most popular shows on Broadway, I think. And it's just a lot of the energy, and it's kind of like everyone knows Wicked. And it's like, it's not one of those little shows that's still on Broadway. It's like everyone knows about it.
So, making my Broadway debut in Wicked was a total dream come true for a few different reasons. I, not only was I just like making my Broadway debut, which was huge and had been a lifelong dream of mine, but it also was the first show I saw when I moved to New York. And I remember going and seeing it with my parents, and my mom turned and looked at me and she said, I just have a feeling about this show for you. And that was in 2008. So it was a long time between me seeing Wicked and then me going into it. And it's been really amazing to be in a show like that because it is something that everybody knows, and there's such a huge community of people who have been in the show, and it's very loved, and it's a very supportive cast. And, we don't really have the fear of, is this going to make it? Are we selling enough tickets for it to stay open? Which are a lot of like adult things that you don't think about when you're going into theater and when you're studying theater, is like, is the show going to close? But at the same time, when you're in something like Wicked, it's kind of a machine. Like, there's a certain way that the show is done, and there's a certain energy that the show needs to have, and a certain look, and all of these things. And that's what makes it successful. And I feel so fortunate to be a part of something like that. But at the same time, don't forget that when you do weird little shows, sometimes you have more creative freedom than you will ever have being in a big, giant Broadway show.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because I heard a while ago that Eden Espinosa, like, you had to get a riff like okayed before you could do it, in like Defying Gravity, and you kind of had to stick to whatever the music like originally said, or else you kind of might get in trouble.
Well, that's part of being a replacement person in a show. There's expectations of there's certain places where you might have a little bit of freedom. And quite frankly, I think you have a lot more freedom when you're in the ensemble than you do if you're a big role, because everybody's been listening to that cast album for 17 years. And so they have an idea of what it's supposed to look like. And when you run down and you put your foot on the floor at this part of the floor, and you stand and you turn your body like this, and there's all kinds of things. That's what I mean by it's a machine. Not only are there giant set pieces, but there's a look and a brand, as opposed to when you go to like a small regional theater and you do their summer production of Oklahoma, and everybody's seen Oklahoma a bajillion times, and therefore you might have a lot more freedom with making your choices of being whoever in that versus being in the Broadway version.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't think that there's that kind of like strictness to it, so you just kind of overlook that. And then when you get to hear like the actual experiences of people, it really kind of opens your eyes to like what being on Broadway or like being in a show is really like. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great. Next, Nakama. I don't know how to say your name. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hi. So
Hi.
I know that you like answered like a part of this, but like, what was the first Broadway show / like tour that you saw? And did you like know that you already wanted to like be on Broadway one day when you saw your first Broadway show, or did that make you want to?
Well, so I come from a family of performers and arts educators. So my great uncle was on Broadway in like the 50s, and then my grandparents were singers, and my parents were singers and performers, and have made their life in the performing arts, and they live in Maine. They do not live in New York. They have never lived in New York. But the first Broadway show I ever saw was actually, I'm not this old, it was the original production of a chorus line. My parents didn't have a babysitter, and they snuck me inside my dad's coat. And I was 2 years old, and they told me that I needed to be quiet. And so I sat inside my dad's coat and watched the show from inside. So I don't really remember it because it was a very long time ago. But I saw my aunts and uncles performing, and my parents performing, my older brother performing, and I just knew I wanted to be a part of it, and knew I didn't want to be left out, and did my first show when I was really little because my uncle was in it, and he's my godfather, and I just wanted to be, don't make me out. So they just let me be in this show that I didn't audition for because I was horrible and would scream if they tried to take me off the stage. So I've known I wanted to do theater for a very, very long time.
Cool. Next, Ahmed.
Hi, Meg. I was just wondering, Wicked, there's so many different like backgrounds and scenes, and like it's really, I've heard that it's like really hard backstage. But what has been like the funniest backstage mishap?
Well, I mean, the funniest backstage mishap. Well, there was one time I'm a very, a little bit of an anxious person as far as it comes to cues, and I really don't like to push it as far as missing a cue or not being in my place. So I will generally kind of head upstairs to the stage pretty early. I like to already be backstage when they call places, instead of, people who've been in the show a little bit longer will just start heading upstairs when they hear places. I don't want to deal with any of that. So I like to be there ahead of time. So this one time I headed up nice and early, and then I started chatting up one of the dressers for Glinda, and she and I were sitting there. We were just standing on center stage chit-chatting. And then all of a sudden, this is for places for Act 2. And then all of a sudden, I heard the music cue for the entr'acte start. And I was standing dead center stage, and I needed to be at the top of a staircase so that I could run out. And I am in this huge dress and high heels. And I have never moved so fast in my entire life. If there was an Olympic gold medal, it would have been given to me. Just like 100-yard dash in a ball gown. And I literally like picked up my skirt and I don't think my feet touched the ground. It was the craziest thing. And it was, and the guy who comes in behind me, he was like, "It's okay, you're going to be okay." And I was like, "Am I?" And because I have a solo right at the beginning of Act 2 as well. I have that, like some terrible green blizzard throughout the land she flies. That's my solo. So like, I need to be on stage and with breath. I can't be like having a meltdown. So that was pretty crazy for me.
Thank you.
Just another, career goal of athlete, right?
Yeah.
Caitlin, you're next.
Hi. My question is do you have like a ritual before a show, or do you have something that always helps you like get in the mindset of your character or ready for a show before you start?
Yes. I generally speaking, when I was doing the show, actually really got into meditating. I have very bad ADHD that I don't like to take medication for because I like a challenge. And so meditating is very important to me because it helps me stay focused and like keep my breath where it needs to be. And so I had a pretty good ritual of doing a meditation exercises while I was doing my hair, putting my hair in pin curls and getting my makeup. And I would also do some like foam rolling. I don't know if any of you know what foam rolling is. Yeah. So doing some foam rolling. Wicked, the national tour is not, but the Broadway production is on a rake. And which means that the stage is on a slant, and it doesn't feel like a big deal, but then all of a sudden you'll start to feel like your lower back is really tight or your hip is really tight, and you just have to do maintenance to take care of your body to make sure that you're not damaging it when you're not only doing 17 flights of stairs a show, but then you're also doing the show on a rig. And also you're like not 20 anymore. You just get old. So that was all part of it, to like make sure I was stretched, brush my teeth so I'm not spreading coffee breath on anybody, you know, all the nice stuff. But meditating is a huge help for me to stay where I need to be before a show.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Cool. Sarah?
So I'm not gonna ask the question in the chat because that was not that important. I'll ask that if I can get a repeat. But so do you have any tips for someone who wants to be on Broadway in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that if you stay focused and you show up, you know, there's this really great way of approaching things that, believe it or not, Michael Jordan, the basketball player, is his train of thought, which is the only thing that you can control is the work. And if you do the work and you show up and you are prepared and you are always ready and really put that effort in to being prepared, then that's all that you can control. But a lot of other people don't do the work. A lot of people like to think, I'm talented. And the thing is that when you get to a certain level, everybody's talented. So what else are you bringing to the table? And being a hard worker, being consistent, being punctual, being kind and easy to work with are the most important thing, because that's what's going to get you your second job. To be honest, the reason why I ended up making my Broadway debut in Wicked is because the music director knew me and they couldn't find someone for the track. And I sent him a happy birthday text and he said, "What are you doing? Are you performing?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Which, to be fair, like I was, but I hadn't been performing in a while. I had been more of a choreographer or more of a director. And then I just said yes to this opportunity. And then I showed up and I was ready and I was vocally healthy and I was in the right place and I booked it because I was right for it, but I was also ready because I had done the work. So it's very important to do those things and to stay focused. And if people are not supportive, because, you know, a lot of the time we see a lot of the same body types and a lot of the same look and a lot of the same sound. And sometimes what makes you interesting is not what's the same as everybody else. And when you're young, you just want to be normal and you just want to fit in. And as you become an adult, you start to recognize that the things that make you different are your superpower. They're what make you stand out. They're what make you memorable. And that's why you see people who break the mold and they're so, "Oh, where have you been?" And it's like that they've been there. They've been like this their whole lives. But finally it broke through and somebody believed in their talent and they were ready for it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Cool. So we have like 2 minutes left and we've gone through most of everybody. So we'd start repeats, but Eli has a question. So Eli, go ahead.
I mean, do you have any tips for anyone who does not have a voice and has a performance in 3 hours? Do you have strategies for that? Because
it depends on what level of doesn't have a voice. You know,
Eli is your example. Just gonna put that there.
Yeah,
do you have a performance in 3 hours?
Yeah, so I'm gonna call out Maureen, but we're in a production of The Addams Family. Okay. And we hit some pretty high notes, and I mean, I guess like maybe we should just like warm up. We should do a warm up together. Oh my god. But
well, are you doing your warm up? Like that's the other thing is you have to remember as a vocalist, you're an athlete. That's athleticism. and you have to warm up and do a cool down before when you're ever to take care of your voice, because your voice will continue to change throughout your life. And there are going to be times when you're young that you're like, it's fine. Ah! And then you just scream for Jesus and it comes out because it's a miracle. And then eventually, like, as you get older, you can't do that anymore. So you like drinking, your tea with you, or even just hot water and lemon with honey can be really amazing. And then if you ever can get like a steamer, which is like a personal steamer, and if you don't have one of those, just take a really hot shower, or boil a pot of water and put your face over it. Don't set your hair on fire. So all of those things, but like doing warm-ups on a lip trill or a tongue trill, and singing through your things so that you're not holding tension in your throat. Or even doing, I was just teaching the other day, straw exercises. I don't know if any of you take voice lessons and you do your straw exercises, but these things that when you're young and you're like, whatever, it's fine. Like, no, don't, whatever, it's fine, because then you'll be old one day and you'll be like, oh God, what were they telling me? Like, please take a note and write it down now, because I was one of those people that could just scream and it was fine. And then I turned 27 and I couldn't do it anymore. And I've been relearning how to sing most of my adult life because I couldn't do what I had done all through college and my young adult life. So, but hot water, honey, lemon, all of that, lip trill, straw exercises, hot shower. Should help.
Great, thank you.
Everybody has different strategies. So like, I like to have different opinions, but I mean, it totally works today because I mean, we have a show in 3 hours, so.
And don't be afraid to just like Rex Harrison it and maybe talk your singing parts a little bit if you have to. I mean, that man was in a lot of movies and he had a full-on career and he would just talk instead of singing. So.
All right.
Great. Cool. So that wraps it up. Sorry that Eli and I just cracked up. I was pressuring him to use the boiling water thing today. And now that you said it, we were both just like, oh, Eli, but then yeah. Moving on. I
will say that I took a hot shower though. So
yeah.
And a steaming shower.
Cool. So that wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for coming. We took a picture. Meg, where can we find you on social media?
I am on Instagram at Meggles_Doherty, Doherty. And that's Meggles, Meggles. I'm making sure that's correct.
Tagged on our page as well.
Yes. And yeah, I'm on Instagram and, living my life. And if feel free, if any of you if you're following me and you're finding me there and you ever have questions about vocal technique or acting technique, and you want to DM me, you are all more than welcome to. And I also, we're in a pandemic, so if anybody is open to and wants coachings on anything, I do virtual coachings and virtual lessons as well. So, happy to continue the arts education.
Right. Awesome.
Cool. And since we weren't able to ask Lauren, Eli, do you want to say how we can reach Lauren?
I said it in chat earlier, but Lauryn Ciardullo, sorry. Her is Aladdin Swing. She was talking about this earlier, but she does weekly free dance classes over Zoom. Maya and I did one yesterday. It was super fun.
And exhausting.
Yeah. But you can find her there. I DM with her a lot. She's willing to DM with you if she also does coachings. Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining. I'm just gonna ask Meg to stay for another 30 seconds. That's all.
I just have to add one last thing. Make sure you're following our Instagram. We put all our announcements there, like upcoming Q&As. That's probably how you found out about this one. We also have everything on our website, which is ZBroadway.com, which is really cool. And yeah, we also put announcements for guest hosts. If you've been to a group Q&A before, then you know how guest hosts work. Everything's on our Instagram, so check that out. It's at ZBroadway. And yeah, that's it. So you guys are free to leave. Have a good Halloween. We'll see you in November. And yeah.
Have a great spooky season.
Good luck with your performance tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It was nice meeting all of you.
Yeah.
So much.
Bye.
Bye, guys.